Hi, this is Philosophy 70 and my lecture on Immanuel Kant and his deontology or duty theory in ethics. So far we've had Aristotle and we've had Bentham and Mill, and even though their ideas were very different, both focused a lot on happiness, with Aristotle focusing on developing a virtuous character to get you to happiness, and Bentham and Mill looking at actions and deciding if they would create more happiness than unhappiness. Well, we have Immanuel Kant today. He is a German philosopher born in 1724 and died in 1804. And he says happiness is not the goal. It should not be the highest goal. He says, in fact, using happiness as a guide to morality can be selfish, it can be misused, we can make a lot of miscalculations. So we do not want to have happiness as our goal. The highest good, the only thing that cannot be used, is a good will. He says a good will is important because a good will means you are doing the right thing because it's the right thing. No other reason. It's the right thing, so you must do it. And having a good will is a part of the two steps required for Kant's duty theory of ethics. Have a good will and then follow the categorical imperative, which we'll get to in a minute. But right now, as far as good will, we're talking about goodwill. It's the desire, the intent to do what is right simply because it's right. The categorical imperative, pardon me, will tell us how to judge what's right, but we've got to have that right motive. So with utilitarians, we were looking at consequences. Now we're not looking at consequences. We're looking at motives. So examples of things like this. Let's say that my neighbor across the street needs help changing a tire. Like I walk out of my house, I see her in the driveway, she's changing a tire and having trouble with it, and so I go over and I help her. And when I'm going over there to do it, I start thinking about, oh, she has an avocado tree, and I like avocados, so maybe she'll give me some. Did I do the right thing when I went over to help her change her tire? No, because my motive was not pure. It was not from a good will. It was not from a sense of duty to do the right thing. I was motivated by avocados. So same situation. Here's my neighbor again, flat tire. I go over to help her. This time I'm not thinking about anything other than she needs help. Right? I don't know about her avocados. I don't care about them. I just think, oh my neighbor needs help. The right thing to do is to go help her. And so I go across the street and I help her, and maybe, in spite of the fact that I'm doing the very best I can, and I do know how to change a tire, I mistakenly get the lug nuts on wrong or loose, and they wind up coming off. She's on the freeway, the wheel comes off, she's in a crash, and she dies. Did I do the right thing? I helped her change a tire, and she died. According to the duty theory, yeah, I did. I can't predict the consequences. I went over with the right motive to help her change a tire because she needed the tire changed. It seems sometimes a little odd, but the point is we do it because it's the right thing. We have the right motivation. We are acting morally because we are acting from a good will. We are acting from a sense of duty. We want to do the right thing because it is the right thing, and that is my sole sense of why I'm doing it. Duty requires it. I'm not doing it for any other reason. I'm not doing it because it makes me feel good or, and makes me get a good reputation in my neighborhood, any of that kind of thing. So one of the things we need to ask ourselves is, can there be any truly altruistic acts? In other words, can I do something like go help my neighbor change her tire and not think of anything like, oh yeah, this, this will make her happy and makes me happy, and, not think about getting anything from it? Well, what we know now psychologically is that no, we can't. There's always some self-interest, in everything we do. It might just be that, I am motivated to change the tire because I like my neighbor and I want to help her out. And so there's a little bit of happiness for me, or, a little bit of a good feeling. So it's not 100% goodwill. It can't be. We know that now psychologically. Kant did not know that. So we're going to allow him to say that your actions have to be done from 100% goodwill. Okay. So that's the first step in his two-step theory. The second one is our guide to conduct. It is the way to test our actions to discover whether or not they are the right thing. The test is called the categorical imperative. Categorical imperative, key term, pardon me. And this is the test that we use to see if what we want to do is actually moral or not. The actual wording of the categorical imperative, I'm sure you read it in the textbook, and it goes like this: act only on that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. And I'm sure that when you read that, you went, what? Because the first time I read that, I went, what? So here's what it means. Act only on that maxim. Well, a maxim is not the men's magazine. A maxim is your policy for action, your personal policy. It is basically the description of the action that you're going to do. So act only on that thing you want to do when you can at the same time. So right then, right now, will want it to be a universal law. Okay, so how does that break down? So I have to ask myself, if I can do this, or here's this thing I want to do. If I can do this, I have to be willing to say, I want everyone else to do it right now. If I can say, yes, I want everyone else to do it, then I can do it. If I can't say that, then I can't do it either. So what I'm looking at here is asking myself, well, here's a favorite, a famous example, one of several. A woman needs to borrow money, and she knows she can't pay it back. So she wants to go to the bank and lie about loaning money. And she asks herself, whenever I want to loan money, is it okay for me to lie in order to get that loan? And can that become a universal law? In other words, would she be willing to allow everybody else to lie about borrowing money? And she realizes, no, she can't make that a universal law. Two big reasons. One, if everyone's allowed to do that, well, then the bank's going to know that everybody is lying. So they're going to stop lending money. It's just that simple, right? And then the second part is, that at some point someone's going to lie to her about about needing money and being able to pay it back, and then she won't get paid back, and so she doesn't want that to happen to her. So take the example I used in the lecture on Bentham and Mill about stealing a student's book bag, right? Well, I have to ask myself, whenever I want a book bag, is it okay for me to steal it from a student? And would I want that to be a universal law? And I'm going to have to say no, because first of all, if you know it's allowable for me to steal, you're going to be like, shotgun in hand, guarding your book bag. And secondly, while I'm busy stealing your book bag, you're stealing my book bag or keys or, whatever it might be. So I don't want that to happen. Therefore, I can't steal yours. So it's going to work like that. If you don't want others to do it, you cannot do it either. Now, one of the things that comes up is people will say, "Oh, well, what if I make my maxim kind of narrow?" For example, let's say I want to make the maxim something like, whenever a full-time female Chaffey College philosophy professor wants to steal from a student, she may. I am the only full-time female philosophy professor at Chaffey College. So if I am just the only one, have I narrowed it down and then now I'm allowed to do it? Well, no. The simple answer, the short answer. Because if I'm allowed to tailor my maxim so that it's specific just to me, to allow me to do what I want to do, then I have to let you tailor your maxims to specifically apply to you. And I don't want to do that, because you will come up with some crazy stuff that you're going to say is okay for you to do. So I can't specialize it. What winds up happening with Kant, and it's kind of one of the good things and at the same time one of the problems, is that we wind up with these very general proclamations. Never steal, never lie, never cheat, never kill. All of those things that we consider moral actions, none of them are allowed. None. Because my stealing a book bag allows everybody else to steal whatever they want. One type of stealing allows every type of stealing. So one little lie allows every lie. And what comes up in some of the examples, this is something that's been debated for 100 and so on, well, 200 years now. It's like, okay, is it okay to lie? Ever? And an example is, let's say you are living in Germany during World War II and you have Jews hiding in your attic, and the Nazis come to your door and knock and say, "Do you know where there are any Jews hiding?" What do you do? Well, you can't lie, right? So you can't say, "Nope, I don't know any." You know, if you tell the truth and tell them, "Well, yes, I know that there are some in my attic," well, then that would be morally correct, but those people are going to get taken away and tortured and killed, right? Now, maybe you don't rat out the people you have in your attic, but you say, "Oh, there are some down the street," right? That is not a lie if there are really people there. But now you've just ratted out those people to be tortured and taken away. So what do? You can't lie, because that does not pass the categorical imperative, right? But you don't want to give up the people. And of course, you can't just stand there and say nothing. The Nazis aren't going to be, pleasant about that. So what do? This is really the big problem with Kantian ethics. It gives us times where we have conflicting moral duties. One moral duty says I should never lie. The other moral duty says I should not give up people to be killed. What do I do? Well, the problem here isn't really a problem that comes from Kant. The problem here is that the Nazis who have come to my door are doing something immoral in the first place. So I've been forced into a moral dilemma based on the fact that they are doing something immoral. If everybody followed his ideas, we would have a much different world and a much better world. And that's what he wants. I mean, it's just really that simple. Everybody should be good and follow duty theory all of the time. Never lie, never cheat, never steal, and so forth. We don't know what it would be like to live in a world like that, right? Because we lie so often. And if I ask you, do you lie? And you say no, I'm going to say you're lying, because everybody lies, whether it's the small lie or the large lie, but we do, so many, or make so many lies throughout the day based on frequently trying to save an argument or prevent somebody's feelings from getting hurt. I mean, we do things, so somebody says to you, your friend comes to you and says, hey, does my butt look big in these pants? Well, maybe their butt does look big in the pants, in those pants, right? We have been socialized to lie, to spare their feelings. And then we say, no, you look fine. And they say, oh, great, because I'm going to go out to, the mall. And they go off. And then people see them walking in the mall and look at them and go, oh my God, that person's ass is enormous, right? And it's because the pants have made them look that way. Kant says even lies like that, they're not good lies, and they don't save anybody's feelings. They set them up for other possible hurts, right? When people, maybe they hear somebody say, did you see her ass? It's huge, right? So here's how Kant wants it to play out. Somebody comes to you and says, does this make my butt look big? You don't have to be mean. You don't have to exaggerate and go, oh yeah, your ass is huge. You can say, some of your pants make your butt look smaller than that. Or yes, that does make your butt look larger than some of your other pants. Kant's view is you've told the truth. And now that person should say, thank you. I was going to go to the mall, but I don't really, well, my dog seems to have been interfering here. The person says, I'm going to go to the mall, and I don't want to go out in pants that make my butt look big. So that person should say thank you to you rather than get angry for you saying, is my butt big? So if we told the truth all of the time and we expected the truth, we would have a lot of less hurts, and a lot of times when people would, if you don't want to know the truth, just don't ask, right? I want to wear these pants regardless of how I look, so I'm not going to ask you how I look. I'm just going to go to the mall and wear them. It's an ideology that is somewhat utopian, right? How do you get people to tell the truth all of the time or to never cheat, those kind of things? It would require significant moral training, significant socialization, and we, of course, have been socialized to not do that. We have essentially been socialized to do whatever's good for us. I've heard there's a movie, I haven't seen it yet, that's called The Invention of Lying, and in that movie, apparently, a guy comes to a town, and in this town, nobody lies. Never. They don't know about it. They have no concept of lying. And he realizes that, and so he realizes that he can lie and they'll believe him because nobody else lies. So he goes up to beautiful women and says things like, if you don't sleep with me right now, the world will end. And they're like, okay, and they go and sleep with him and so forth. And so, that's kind of the problem that we would have, even if we had everybody in our society following Kant's ethics. All it takes is one deviant, one jerk to come in and screw it all up and tell the lie and cheat and whatever. So his theory is good, right? I mean, this is how we should be. How do you put it into action? How do you make that work in the world that we live in today? That really is the problem. We run into conflicting moral duties because other people are doing immoral things, and then we can't figure out through his theory what to do. What is the better moral duty, to save these people or to never tell a lie? Even then, when we hear that dilemma, most of us would say, well, save a life, right? Don't let those people be taken by the Nazis. But Kant, he says, then that's going to justify all of the lies told by the Nazis. Like the Nazis come to your door and say, we're looking for Jews because we'd like to record them and we'd like to reward them and give them, a nice home and presents and everything. And so they lie to you and you're like, oh yeah, they're in my attic, right? So any lie justifies or allows any other lie. And that kind of becomes a problem, or is a problem, as long as people won't follow the theory. So again, the theory is called deontology or duty theory. It's based on you doing things from a motive of goodwill and from testing your action through the categorical imperative. If it passes both of those, it's okay for you to do it. So if it doesn't pass goodwill, you can't do it. If it doesn't pass the categorical imperative, you can't do it. It has to pass both. Let's see. I wonder if there's anything else I needed to say or want to say. I think that's pretty much it. And so I'm going to wrap up Kant, and that will be the end of the three, or this is the end of the three major forms of Western philosophical ethics. These will be on exam 2, and next time we will have Nietzsche and Carol Gilligan, who are not part of the Western normal system of ethics. Okay, see you next time.